Hey guys, be a part of the Bob Culture Podcast by supporting me on Patreon.com. That's Patreon.com/Bob Culture Podcast for some great incentives. Everybody, welcome to episode 32 of the Bob Culture Podcast, special Justice League edition. We got a nice wintry day out here. Hunter and I, we got our pens, we're ready to go. From the Across My Mind Network, we are here with Mr. Nick Zaccario and Mr. Hunter Farman. Guys, welcome. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us. No, thanks for coming over on this snowy day here. It's good to have you guys. We're just talking about breakfast cereal. Tell me a little bit, before we get into the superhero stuff, tell me a little bit about the Across My Mind Network. You guys are doing a lot over there. We're just talking about the Thor review. You guys even did a breakfast cereal review. Tell everyone a little bit about the Across My Mind Network.
Oh man, the network, we just launched it, and it's kind of the culmination of the last 6 years of Across My Mind. It started as a podcast back when I was in high school.
Oh, it was in high school? Okay,
yeah, I was podcasting before podcasting was cool, man.
Good for you, man.
And he beat it. He beat all the hipsters.
You're why I'm here today, man. Made the groundwork, but go ahead.
I'm a little salty that I haven't hit it big yet, but hey, you know what? Yeah. It sucked back then. It's okay now. It's at least you can listen to it.
Right.
But the network, it's kind of the central hub for everything Across My Mind, whether it be the podcast or my writings or Nick's videos.
Yeah. So Hunter brought me on when we were still in college. We did it as a radio show, early morning. And it was a 1-hour show where we talked, and we sometimes had other guests come in and interview. And now it's become this thing where we can kind of use both creative forces. So I take over the portion of the website that's I go see movies and review them and put them up on our YouTube channel. And I also have been trying to help contribute in other aspects like editorials and stuff like that.
Still has not happened.
So but you guys, this was on WMCX, right?
At one point,
Across
yeah.
My Mind, because I had seen you guys and do some other live videos and stuff like that on Facebook
for about a year and a half.
And you guys were very nice to have our band Vection on a few times.
Mm-hmm.
We appreciate that. You guys are always great to us, so I do want to thank you guys for that.
No problem, of course.
Guys, and where can they find you on the interwebs?
AcrossMyMind.com.
Boom.
That's the website. Facebook.com/AMMPodcast. Twitter.com/AMMPodcast.
YouTube.com/AMMPodcast.
Wrong.
That one's Across My Mind Podcast.
YouTube.com/AcrossMyMindPodcast.
I don't know. I just published them.
Instagram.com/AcrossMyMindPodcast.
There we go.
There you go.
Definitely check it out. Did you guys do anything with Justice League or not yet?
He did.
I
was
did.
going to, because I saw it actually 2 days after Hunter had posted our review.
Okay.
And so I was going to do like sort of a in-depth spoilers video, but then it was shortly after that you reached out to us saying,
"Oh, cool.
We want to have us on."
Yeah, I've been wanting to have you guys on forever, so I appreciate you coming on over. And I didn't talk to you guys about Justice League really at all. I sent you a list of topics to talk about, but I just wanted your genuine reaction, so I'm excited. I'm a big superhero. Who are some of your favorite superheroes, like over time?
My favorite superhero, Martian Manhunter.
Nice, good answer, man.
Yep.
You don't hear that one too often. We love Martian Manhunter. Yeah, we watch all those shows. Smallville, Supergirl. Yeah. He always makes a cameo.
I'd say
where's Santa's outside, by the way? There's
it's
SantaCon.
Yeah.
Go ahead. But
that's like the third Santa we've seen.
I know, this is awesome, man. We got the snow, we got Santa's. We're ready to go here.
Christmas is here, man.
Yeah. Who's one of your favorite?
I would say on the DC side, one of my favorites is probably Nightwing.
Dude.
But on the Marvel side, I mean,
Nightwing.
I'm a bit more of a Marvel fan than I am DC, so I would say Marvel side would probably be Cap.
Cap, all right, yeah.
It's
a wifey's. She loves that Chris Evans. I'll tell you that. He's a hunk. All right.
Yeah, he's pretty.
I should have worn my Nightwing shirt. I'm busting out my Flash shirt today, but I should have went with Nightwing. Man, good answers, both good answers. All right. So that was kind of like a test to see if you guys knew what you were talking about.
Okay, cool.
No, I'm just kidding.
Did we pass?
No, please.
Well, Hunter's going to compensate for me because he probably has more knowledge of the actual comics than I do.
Oh yeah, back when we were on the X, me and my 3 other friends, we did a whole comic book show weekly, 2 hours.
Dude, yeah. I never caught that one. I wish I did, man. Yeah. But you were telling me you were big into the comic books.
Yep.
That's awesome. You got a collection?
I do not have a comic book collection. No.
I gotcha.
He's more versed in it,
right? Sure.
I look at the superhero stuff from just a filmmaking perspective and what they bring to the general audience.
I gotcha. Cool. Well, let's get into it, guys. So we all have different opinions here. I wasn't personally a huge fan of the DC cinematic universe, except for Wonder Woman, which I have going on right now. Wonder Woman I really liked. Were you guys big fans of the DC cinematic universe, I guess, starting, we'll say, with Man of Steel? And do you think they're heading in the right direction with Justice League?
I was a fan of the DC universe starting with Green Lantern, as embarrassing as it is to say.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
I know that's not within the universe, but that was actually the first superhero movie I ever saw. So that's what got me into everything, yeah.
The Ryan Reynolds.
The Ryan Reynolds.
No kidding. Okay.
Yep.
Well, strangely enough, actually, this is one of the things that Hunter and I first bonded over. I also kind of appreciate the Green Lantern movie.
Okay.
I'm talking about the extended cut, too.
Okay.
Director's cut, I believe, is better, obviously. But I guess I'm on board with all things superhero, really.
Nice.
The DC cinematic universe, though, I feel has started to kind of find its footing, and they've kind of, it seemed like, just been trying to pick up with Marvel's pace.
Yeah. I think pacing has a lot to do with that. Like we were saying, even when they announced Justice League so far ahead of time, when they'd only done one or two hero movies, the pacing, it's like, oh, we're getting to this movie already, and people are stoked about Aquaman, and we haven't really seen anything from him yet. He's kind of like this badass Jason Momoa, Game of Thrones, we know him from. So I'm like, I'm really excited to see where they go, and I hope everything's not too rushed. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. I always say on my podcast, I'm huge on character development, which is why we love watching like the TV shows with the heroes and stuff, because there's a different pace. You have seasons and hour-long episodes. When you get these movies, sometimes things are kind of sped up a little bit. So let's go character by character. I'm wearing my Flash shirt now. Obviously, there was a lot of flack because people love, was it Grant Gustin from CW? We love him. We call him, he's kind of a sensei, kind of like a sensitive superhero, but he's really good. We're a big fan of that show. So there was a lot of flack, people like, oh, he should have played him in the movie, but you can't, I understand, you can't always have the same people. So what did you guys think of the Flash? What was his name?
Ezra Miller.
Ezra. Yeah, let's start with the Flash. What did you guys think of him in Justice League?
Well, I think that if they're going to recast Grant Gustin from the TV show, it would be good to have an actor who kind of has that young, he's hot with the young people crowd. And Ezra has been in a lot of movies since like probably 2011-ish. He did a movie called We Need to Talk About Kevin, and he was got a lot of critical acclaim for that. And so they got not only an actor that I think people have seen in a lot of different things, but someone who's also really talented. I thought he was really funny, and he did a good job as the Flash. But I'm sure this is going to go back into pacing. I wish that there was like a little bit more sort of even toned throughout the whole thing, spread out amongst all the characters. He was definitely one of the highlights, though, of the crew. Yeah,
he was the one guy who I was kind of iffy on when I first heard his casting. I just didn't think it made sense because I had seen him in, was it The Perks of Being a Wallflower? Was that what he was in?
Oh,
that was
wow.
Yeah.
About that.
And it just didn't click with me. But after seeing Justice League, I think he was the perfect choice. Hair color aside.
Hair color, yeah, I got it. Right, that's fair, yeah, because you're used to superheroes a certain way. You're
and in a way, we kind of had. I mean, I don't want to say like a test run with him, but they've been sprinkling him in through the past couple DC movies. You saw him for about a nanosecond in Suicide Squad and Batman v Superman.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right.
So people have kind of gotten a little bit of like, this is what's to come from him in the Justice League movie. But I actually thought he was one of the highlights.
Cool, I gotcha. So obviously, I'm big on the males here. I'm big on the CW Flash, so obviously, it's hard going in and seeing a new character when you're used to someone else. I thought he kind of provided like the comic relief a little bit in a lot of it. And I agree with what Nick was saying about the pacing. You got like little glimpses of his story. Again, with the Justice League, I felt like the Flash movie, they needed to get Justice League out. They've been building it forever. But I think a Flash movie first would have made him a little more endearing to us, and we could get to know him a little more. But we saw glimpses of his story, like with his dad in prison and things like that. One thing I didn't like is that he mentioned he just pushed people out of the way. Like he when it came to like fighting with the team, he was very
he just
that was
pushed
one
people
thing.
and ran away.
Yeah, that wasn't my favorites, but again, I guess we're kind of getting somewhat of an origin here because this is our first look at him.
When I saw the movie, I saw it with my older cousin, who's also very well versed in the comic lore and stuff like that. And one of his big complaints about the Flash's character was that he seemed to almost be like a fanboy service thing, because like that whole thing of I just push people and run away is kind of like a fanboy sort of like a wink to the camera, like, oh, you see, we get it. The superheroes are silly now. And
is that okay? All right.
I mean, I could see that, but they also had to balance out some very powerful superheroes against ones who might not have as much strength or other abilities.
There were a lot of those wisecracks towards the characters. You had Bruce Wayne saying, "My superpower is I'm rich," and you had him saying, "Arthur Curry, I hear you can talk to fish."
Yeah.
So just these little jabs at the characters.
Good, really well said, guys. Really, really good job. And that's something like we didn't see in the early DC Cinematic Universe movies really so much. Not a lot of those little winks or things that were silly. We didn't really see those so much. And it, I think it makes the characters a little bit more endearing. But let's talk about, as we like to call him, Batfleck. What did you guys think about him, particularly in this movie? We had seen him a little bit in Batman vs. Superman and a little bit of him in Suicide Squad. But what do we, obviously there's a lot going on behind the scenes now. I'd like to get your guys' initial reaction on him in this one.
I liked him. I still think that Ben Affleck is the best Batman we've gotten.
Okay.
I like him better than Christian Bale.
I do too. I'm not a Christian Bale fan.
Yeah.
In Batman, he's a great actor.
Yeah.
In Batman, I mean.
I think he's the best Batman, the best Bruce Wayne, and I think his suit looks the best too.
He's convincing the most in terms of just in sheer body mass and the presence of Batman. Like you look at Batman, Ben Affleck as Batman, and he looks just so tough and convincing, and you wouldn't want to mess with him. And I agree with Hunter. I thought he was great. He was a huge surprise in Batman v Superman, and it makes me kind of sad that there's rumors of him not being the Batman anymore.
Yeah, that said, I feel as though Batman kind of took a step down from his performance in Batman v Superman. And I guess the reason for that is because in Batman v Superman we were being introduced to the character again. And here in Justice League we didn't need that introduction. We didn't need to know that, he's this dark, brooding guy and he's rich and he has all these things. He was just another character in the movie.
Absolutely. And I kind of agree with you're saying with it being a step down. He, obviously there's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff going on here. Apparently he had checked himself into rehab and stuff like that. There were a couple scenes that Kate and I noticed. He didn't, his face was kind of flushed and he didn't look as well. It's just something I noticed. He's in... this movie with all these just phenomenal-looking actors and actresses, and and Ben Affleck's a phenomenal actor. You guys are big Kevin Smith fans, yeah, totally. He's always great in those. I know what you're saying when you say he's the best Batman, of all the film ones. They never Keaton was obviously classic. Christian Bale I was not a fan of. George Clooney and Val Kilmer were there, Adam West as a kid, obviously one of my favorites, but that's a different, that's a different medium.
Yeah. Well, it's an akin to, the reason that Michael Keaton's Batman existed was because they wanted to revive it to make it a more dark, brooding story. So you put him, Christian Bale, and Ben Affleck on the same pedestal, but you'd kind of almost put Adam West, Val Kilmer, and George Clooney on their own because of the fact that they're two almost separate genres of Batman. Right. You have the tongue-in-cheek, silly ones of Batman and Robin, or even the Batman the movie, but then you have the Dark Knight films, and you have Batman v Superman, the ones that are trying to be more serious and get more dark and gritty.
I got you. Really well said. I'm glad you covered all that for me. And where I think they really knocked Batman out of the park, I don't know if you guys were a fan. Did you guys ever watch the animated series, Batman?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Were you fans? Kevin Conroy doing the voice?
Uh-huh.
Well, one of my favorite, I know he just does the voice, but really one of my
he is the best Batman. I want to retract my earlier statement.
Ding, ding, ding.
Absolutely.
He is the best.
Correct, guys. Well, you guys knocked that one out of the park. Good job. We're covering everything here. All right, a little. I'm going to throw in some Wonder Woman drums into this part, but how about what you guys think about? First of all, did you guys like the Wonder Woman standalone movie?
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
What did you think about Gal Gadot?
That's one of the best. I think that's still to date one of the best DC movies that we've ever gotten.
I agree. I think it kind of turned the page in a way.
You know what? It's very rarely do we even see a movie about World War One. Just in general. Then you throw in this really empowering story about a woman who can kind of do everything and is trying to just be a beacon of light, for humankind. It's well written, it's well acted, it's well directed, and it looks very good. Like I'm still actually looking at it playing on your TV right now.
Yeah, drama.
And it's just a very vibrant movie that isn't trying to be dark or gritty, but also not trying to be silly and tongue-in-cheek.
Absolutely, I agree.
Gal Gadot has come a very long way since she was in Fast and Furious.
I agree.
Yeah.
But even when they announced her casting, I know that there was some flack of why would they cast her. I thought she was great in those movies back then, and she proved herself in that movie and in Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
My only issue was I'm just like, oh, she's kind of small to be Wonder Woman, this Amazon, and then I saw the movie, and she put on some muscle, and she's not like huge or anything like that, but she knocked it out of the park. I mean, in my Wonder Woman podcast, I had said, I always love Superman, who's always been one of my favorites. Superman and Wolverine are like my favorite of all time, and to me, Christopher Reeves, even some of those movies are kind of silly, but Christopher Reeves always been Superman to me.
Yeah.
And seeing, obviously, there's been many Wonder Women and TV show in the past, but I really think Gal Gadot really just, it's easy to put that piece together. Like with Batman, we're kind of like, well, this Batman, that Batman. I really think Gal Gadot is just nailed it as well.
Yeah.
Like she is awesome. And I heard they put a lot of scenes with her that didn't make the original cut into the movie before it came out, just because Wonder Woman had done so well. And I don't know if there's any truth to that.
I didn't hear that. Maybe you're right.
I have no idea.
I don't know.
I wouldn't think that that's like a false, rumor. I think that could definitely be true.
They like that Wonder Woman. That's good. But yeah, and what did you guys think about her in this movie and her role?
I loved her. That's all I can say.
Yeah, she's fantastic. Once again, another standout.
Obviously. And this is a good little segue here, getting into Superman a little bit. They had to make Wonder Woman fight Superman, which was really fun to see, because you want to see how they kind of measure up against each other.
Yeah.
My big issue with Superman, again, I was saying he's one of my favorite heroes. I wasn't a huge fan of Man of Steel. I thought Henry Cavill?
I think so.
Cavill.
Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
I think he's got a great look for Superman. He was a great Clark Kent. He didn't save as many people in Man of Steel. They pretty much decimated Metropolis.
That was the biggest complaint about the movie.
With him snapping Zod's neck. Obviously they address his conflict of killing and all that stuff, but it was just Superman is the Boy Scout. Anything that's not that. I understand we change things over time, but that is his MO. You know what I'm saying? Superman's the Boy Scout, true blue.
Well, and I think that goes into some of the fans' criticisms and the ones who, even people who aren't fans of the DC universe, their criticisms of Zack Snyder as being almost their poster boy for the whole universe. They hired Zack Snyder on for Man of Steel, and I believe the movie did, financially very well.
I think
but they bankrolled him for then, the rest of these other projects, Batman v Superman, this movie, and when it was going to be split into two, he was going to be in charge of essentially the pillars of the DC universe before even giving him, a first go at it.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it. I think they tried to make him their Kevin Feige.
Yeah, which is another...
and that's all fine and good, but I don't know if Zack Snyder's the right person to do it. I love him as a filmmaker, but
I agree.
In terms of his creative vision for these characters and for the stories, I don't know if I'm completely 100% in line with him.
You know what? Because here's my biggest problem with putting Zack Snyder as the director of a movie like Man of Steel. You can't capture lightning in a bottle like he did with Watchmen. I love Watchmen with all my heart. I read the graphic novel. I've seen the
5-hour extended cut.
5-hour extended cut.
Really?
The motion capture.
It's very long.
It's a they just re-released a ultimate cut of it on 4K, and I got it, and I think it's 2 hours and 4 hours and 10 minutes or
Mr.
something
4K TV over here.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm entitled, I guess. but you can't. That movie was meant to be dark and brooding, and cold. And these characters are anti-heroes.
Right.
Superman's not an anti-hero.
He's the hero.
Yeah. So I would have envisioned someone who has a little bit more of a colorful flair for directing, because Zack Snyder's, at least his early 2000s films, all were very much of the same style. You had 300, you had Watchmen. And so they all are very, dark, brooding films. That's not what Superman should be, in my opinion.
Dude, I couldn't say it any better, man. Really well said. Really well said. So when it comes to Justice League, they revive Superman. Mm-hmm. He comes out, and of course, I'm sitting here going, all right, it's really fun to see these heroes fight each other. That's why there was Civil War in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yep. But I'm sitting here going, do we have to make Superman a badass? And because that's just not Superman. He has the red kryptonite sometimes or whatever. Mm-hmm. But we have to do it was fun to see him fight Wonder Woman. I can't complain about that. And when he threw Batman, when he saw Lois and he just chucked Ben Affleck on the ground. He's on the ground. I was cracking up. I thought that was hilarious.
I love the reversal of the "Will you bleed" line, or "Do you bleed?"
Yes, I forgot about that.
When he comes down out of the sky and he's got his stern grin on and he's looking around. I audibly groaned. I was like, "Ugh, are we really doing this?"
Yeah. It's funny that you guys say that, because I think this was the first movie that got Superman right, completely right. I think that. With what your issues aside, because that was the whole revival scene, and I get that. Mm-hmm. He's messed up mentally. He doesn't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But when he did have control of himself, he was Superman. He was cracking jokes with Cyborg when they were pulling out the mother box. He said, I like living a whole lot better.
You're talking about the rest of the movie. I was talking about just that one particular scene when he comes down.
Yeah, no, that scene aside.
That scene aside,
the whole revival thing aside,
he goes back to being the best version of Henry Cavill, and Christopher Reeve mixed.
And I don't know if either of you noticed this, and maybe I could be wrong here. Maybe my eyes were just playing tricks on me. I thought his suit was lighter, a lighter blue, a brighter blue.
You know what? That's a great call. I can't envision it right now, but I bet that might have been a strategic thing right there.
Well, yeah. I know that they made slight alterations, I believe, to Wonder Woman's costume in this film. I wouldn't be surprised if they did it for Superman as well.
Good call. I agree with what both you guys said. That scene, I'm just sitting here rolling my eyes we got to make him... we got to make him evil, even though he's just coming back to life. Yeah. And I get it; he's confused, and obviously Lois is kind of the key to turning him back. Mm-hmm. And I keep saying, it's awesome to see him kind of show off his powers, and it's kind of I don't know if you guys ever played those Injustice games.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely. Again, I played the second one.
I haven't either. Here, it's
I've only
good.
played the first one.
But we could play it later. I got the first one. But again, it's that evil Superman idea. It's they're always trying to. Yeah, make him evil, and I just want to get around that. But I agree with what you said, Hunter. He's aside from that, he really was very true to Superman, and he's got a great look, and his voice and mannerisms are good. I had a lot of problems with the storyline, more so in Man of Steel than anything else. Some things with his character, John and Martha, I had huge problems with. Stuff like that. But anyway, I digress. He was really good, and I like the silly stuff when he was racing Flash at the end, that's so comic booky.
That was a gift to comic book fans.
I think he gave the best laugh of the entire movie, in my opinion, which is when Flash pushes that one family in the truck all the way to the edge of town, and you just see Superman flying the whole building. The building. That was legitimately hilarious.
Love it. And another point, you mentioning that right now, I'm thinking when they're fighting, was it Steppenwolf? We haven't talked about him too much yet. But they're all fighting him, they're struggling, and Superman's kind of kicking his butt or whatever, but he finds out, this family's in trouble, they're not going to make it. Mm-hmm. He's out. You guys fight Steppenwolf, I'm out, I'm going to save these people. And that's what Man of Steel should have been more like. Mm-hmm. He should, they're just decimating these helicopters and buildings and city, and he saves people first. He stopped fighting Steppenwolf to go save these people, you know? And that, like you said, Hunter, it's more true to the character. One of my favorites. You can tell I'm kind of passionate about this one. Let's go into Cyborg, Booyah. I like that Booyah.
Yes.
We were waiting for that.
He had one.
Oh, yeah, we needed that Booyah. What do you guys think about Cyborg in this one? It's kind of our first look at him, really.
I was both him and Aquaman, and we'll get into Aquaman in a second, I guess. I was kind of indifferent to them.
I completely agree.
I feel like
completely agree.
There just wasn't enough character development over there. And I know that they had deleted some scenes, especially from Cyborg, of him getting injured, of him, sort of kind of coping even more with the fact that he is this half man, half machine type of thing. And I think that if they had kept those scenes in the movie, it would have been a whole lot better for his character.
I like his introduction. I like when his father comes home and you just see him, at the window with the hood over his head. I like that part. But honestly, as someone who didn't really know a lot about Cyborg, I don't really understand what his powers are. He's just like a human computer, kind of, and
he can fly.
He can also make weapons. I felt a little confused as to what his usefulness in the team was. That being said, I like the actor who played him. I thought he did a good job with it, but he definitely wasn't, he wasn't the thing I was most excited about in seeing this movie.
It should have been my boy, Martian Manhunter.
Yeah,
they should have done it.
Maybe they'll get
go with the original Justice League route.
And again, it goes back to the pacing. We don't get as much backstory on these characters.
Yeah.
I think he had the one cameo, when Batman vs Superman Cyborg.
Yep.
But I agree with you. I actually really liked Cyborg in this. I like the actor who played him. I thought there was some character development, but I wanted more. Like you said, he was really great. He had some good interactions. I think with Wonder Woman. I forget the specifics, but I really liked him. We like watching Teen Titans Go, which is kind of like the Looney Tunes. Which I think is kind of.
I like the original series.
That's a lot. So you hate it, then that means you hate Teen Titans Go because everyone wants to.
It's too campy.
It is. I get it. I get it, man. But I got those Teen Titans Go over there. Just don't look at them. Let's get into. I don't want to bury him or anything, but let's get into Aquaman. I'll let you guys take the lead.
I am so disappointed with this movie and how they treated Aquaman. First off. Let me just say that I think they're doing the right thing with Aquaman. I think they're going in the right direction.
Yeah.
I just wish they had done more. They didn't do enough.
I think, though, that has to do with, and I'm sure we'll probably get into this later, the whole production, nightmare that this movie went through. And I don't want to, take up too much time in the beginning here with it. But I like Jason Momoa as Aquaman. I thought he was enjoyable as the character, and he had a lot of good moments to, sort of prove that he's a badass, but also, that he also had more of a... I really like the scene when they're going to fight Steppenwolf, and he's talking about how he's, scared that they're
when he's sitting
win,
on Wonder Woman's lasso.
He's sitting on the lasso.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a
great
Again,
scene.
more of that comedy,
But, and once again, like I said, I don't want to, front end it. But it probably has to do with just the problems that they faced in production with the extensive reshoots and the embargo on the movie to make it under 2 hours.
That was its biggest problem. The fact that it had to be under 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. And again, some of these guys should have had standalone movies before Justice League, not to always compare it to Marvel, but Marvel just had, they kind of had... Iron Man, then we got a little Captain America, Hawkeye checks in during Thor, and Coulson kind of being that connecting. In fact, Coulson's so underrated, just by the way. Just really good. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., great show. But, we had a couple Supermans. Luckily, we got Wonder Woman, which was great. We got Suicide Squad. But, we didn't get that Flash movie, which I think should have happened first. But they wanted to roll out Justice League.
Yeah, they went the opposite direction that Marvel did. Marvel had all their standalones come together as one. DC is having all their characters come together as one first, and then have them branch out with what happens after the events of the movie.
That being said, though, I think the movie did leave me, though, wanting to see more of them. I do want to see a Flash movie. I do want to see an Aquaman movie. And I do want to see a Justice League movie that isn't, chopped and hacked to pieces like it's in a butcher shop.
A Justice League movie that isn't directed by two people.
Well, it's directed by two people, but one person gets the credit for it.
Yeah.
And ultimately, he gets the responsibility of the bomb.
Mm-hmm. I got you.
Because this movie it tanked, unfortunately.
It did tank. I think it's close to breaking even.
Yeah, but, breaking even, essentially, especially in the Hollywood world, is bare minimum.
The problem is they had to hire another director in Joss Whedon. They had to do reshoots. All these things cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And it's a superhero films. So
Yeah.
and it's not just a standalone superhero; it's the whole crew, you know. So you'd think it'd be skyrocketing. So look at you guys covering all the bases. You got the finances and everything. This is why you guys are here.
Yeah.
You guys are the best. But I agree. Going back to Aquaman, I'd seen like. For years now, they've just been showing little pictures of him and snippets of him, and I'm like, he's gonna be like kind of a badass Aquaman, who was somewhat a little silly in the comic books, but I guess there's all different reiterations.
Yeah.
But I agree with what you said. They didn't give him enough,
Yeah.
And even the final battle, like there really wasn't any water involved, or he was just fighting.
He was just a strong man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He was a warrior, which is good, but you didn't get to really see his powers in that final battle. Like, there was no water around, there was no...
Even when he went down to Atlantis, he just swam down there and talked to Mera. He didn't, fight a shark or talk to a whale or anything like that. It was just in and out.
But he did get entangled with Steppenwolf.
He did.
At that point.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, let's talk about Steppenwolf, the main villain in this one. I guess he's kind of a dark side lackey or underling. Is that kind of
I believe he's his uncle.
Oh, it's his uncle.
Yeah,
okay.
I think so.
All right, but still kind of a step down in terms of...
Yeah, he's
boss level. Yeah.
He's kind of like his lackey.
Yeah,
that's a good way to put it.
I was under the assumption that we would have Darkseid as the villain.
So was I. Yeah. And I try to know as little as possible. Going like Star Wars, don't even talk to me about Star Wars. I wanted to experience everything for the first time. But what did you guys think about Steppenwolf?
I'll say this before Nick rips him apart.
Love it.
Show me a comic book movie where the villain was good. Outside of Captain America: The Winter Soldier, I can't think of one.
I agree with you. In fact, I always say, because I'm not big on Steppenwolf, but I say villains are hard. Because they have one, and then they have to have a reasoning for their villainness.
The one I like was Thor Ragnarok. I thought Hela was a good villain.
I still haven't seen it, so
However,
I can't say.
Good movie, man. Check it out.
I feel like the criticisms of Steppenwolf are valid, but I was more just taken aback at how lazy some of the CGI on him was.
Steppenwolf was Ultron.
Yeah.
Oof. Steppenwolf was Ultron. What a quote.
Yeah, that's what I compare him to.
It's kind of true.
Just, a bland villain where, you just never buy into them.
Well, the whole reason of just world domination or world conquest is old hat. How do you make that interesting?
Yeah.
And it's like you were saying, villains are hard. I really don't know, why they chose to make him this just giant, tall CGI monster. They could have gone at least halfway with it, in terms of, his motivations or whatever. They're pretty hollow, but I think part of that might have to do with the fact that the movie was just a nightmare to, it was just so much of a slog to get through because of the fact, they had to go through all these reshoots and stuff like that. I'm hoping that part of that was lost in translation when they had to redo all this stuff.
And the one thing that I think people are sort of missing here is that Justice League was not supposed to be about Steppenwolf. Steppenwolf was, no pun intended, a stepping stone. The movie is about the League itself.
Yeah.
It's about them coming together. It's about them fighting and forming the League. It's not about Steppenwolf. Mm-hmm. He's just there. He's a plot device.
I was literally just going to say, Steppenwolf's there, so you pretty much just took the words right out of my mouth. He was there. He was a bad guy. They got to fight him. We need a tier 1 villain, obviously, another thing about this DC cinematic universe, they're playing all their, big cards in their hand. Or, let's get Doomsday into Batman vs. Superman. Why are we trying to get Doomsday already? Shouldn't Doomsday be, a big one? In the comics, he legit killed... Obviously, we know what happened in Batman vs. Superman. But he legit, was the one who took out Superman, and the whole Justice League's fighting them, and the Legion, and all these superhero groups in the comics for, issue after issue. Or, obviously, Lex Luthor we had seen already. Again, Batman vs. Superman. We'll talk about the end credits in a little bit. But, yeah, Steppenwolf just doesn't fit the
but capacity. He gives them, and maybe this could have, like you said, been any villain. He gives them a reason to form because he's coming after the mother boxes, and that's the reason that Bruce Wayne and Diana Prince need to form the League.
It could have been any villain. They could have thrown Victor Zsasz in there, and the same thing would have happened.
He's good on Gotham. I don't know if you guys watch Gotham, but he's Zaz.
I saw him in season 1. That's the only season of Gotham I've ever seen.
It's an interesting take on the character.
Yeah.
You guys play the Arkham games at all?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I'm replaying them right now.
Dude, I replay them. Dude,
yeah.
That's all. I skipped Arkham Origins just because Kevin Conroy didn't do the voice.
Origins is good.
It's good?
Yeah.
All right. You know what? I trust your guys' opinion. I'll pick it up. Cool. But here we go. Some shameless Arkham promo here, too. We got everything. But I like... Dude, I mean, you guys knocked it out of the park. Steppenwolf is Ultron. Steppenwolf is a stepping stone. Like, I mean, nothing... We know we're not going on and on about how great he was. Did you guys see Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yeah.
You know, villains are hard. Like, Ego was interesting, like, the concept. But again, like, didn't really... blow my mind. You know, you got to give these guys like a quick backstory. And a lot of people compared Steppenwolf, you know, collecting the mother boxes to the Tesseract, kind of a similarity. You know, I'm seeing a lot of. I'll send you guys some stuff, but it's interesting. So nothing that really blew our mind, but great concept. You guys said, you know, brought the team together at least. Let's talk about some Easter eggs and then those post credit scenes, and then we'll talk about some scenes you guys liked and stuff you guys didn't like. What are some Easter eggs you guys noticed?
Green Lantern.
That was where I was going to go.
Green Lantern.
I was excited when that popped up, though.
I forget, I don't know if I said it to you or somebody else. Before I saw the movie, I said, all I want from this film is some sort of nod to Green Lantern, and I'll be happy.
I think you texted me that before you saw it.
They gave it to me, and it turns out somebody, you know, they looked at a still of who that Green Lantern was. Turns out it's actually a character in the comic books. I forget which one it is. Very, very old Green Lantern. From what I read, one of the end credit scenes was supposed to be. It was supposed to involve the Green Lantern.
That's what I was expecting. Just a guess.
I was expecting that too, which is why I was so surprised when they gave us that other one, which we'll get to in a second. But from what I read, the original plan was Tomar-Ray and Kilowog come down to Earth and they talk to Bruce Wayne.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
That's what I read. I don't know if that's just, you know, speculation or whether that was actually the plan. But I'm just glad that we got some sort of Green Lantern nod in there.
Is Green Lantern one of your favorites?
I love Green Lantern, man.
I
love him.
Kate is huge on Green Lantern,
yeah.
But she didn't like and she loves Ryan Reynolds too. Loves Ryan Reynolds, but was not a fan of the movie. So
it's a good movie if you don't know anything about Green Lantern going into it.
Okay, maybe that's why, because she's like big. She knows all the different ones, and you know we got a couple lantern rings lying around here.
Nice
in our nerd department. But what other Easter eggs? Anything else you guys kind of caught?
I'm trying to think.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen it. I'm trying to think too. Well, obviously, let's talk about that end scene. You know, we talked a little bit about the first one where the Flash raced Superman. Mm-hmm. So then we had that end scene with Lex Luthor. What do we think of Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor?
No.
I agree.
Not my Luthor.
Not my Luthor.
I would have liked it to have been someone along the lines of Bryan Cranston.
Yeah.
When they were casting him, I think Bryan Cranston was one of the most rumored names.
Wow, that would have worked.
Right.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Oh my gosh.
Actually, I saw someone the other day, or a couple weeks back, they said, man, wouldn't it be cool if Denzel Washington was Lex Luthor? And I said, that would be interesting. I don't know if it worked.
Once again, it would be taking it.
It wouldn't be faithful to the character, but it'd be interesting.
But it doesn't. I mean, I think, you know, actor aside, it was just the wrong choice, because for me, I don't find Jesse Eisenberg, you know,
you just don't like him.
Convincing.
You don't like him.
I liked him in like Zombieland, but
definitely
don't hire him to be Superman's arch nemesis,
top tier villain again.
Like,
yeah,
this is at least the latter half of Batman v Superman. He comes across as this whiny, like, little punk who's like, I'm gonna create a god. Wah!
Yeah,
and it's
kind of silly.
And
psycho.
when you open up to see him, you know, the door opening up in the second end credits scene, and they're like, "Come on, Luthor," I audibly went again. Ugh.
Yeah.
And I rolled my eyes, and my cousin was like, "Shh, you don't know what's happening."
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you, do you think that's more an issue with the writing or with Jesse Eisenberg himself? Because I'm thinking of Batman v Superman, and I'm trying to imagine, like, Kevin Spacey. He played Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
I'm trying to imagine him in that role. And, you know, he was a more menacing Lex Luthor.
Yes.
And I feel like it'd still be the same thing. I think it's a writing problem, not a Jesse Eisenberg problem.
I think it's a twisted combination of both. Because you have someone like David S. Goyer, who has no respect for comic book
Goyer
fans.
should stay away from everything.
Right. But you have his writing, and he has nothing but just contempt for comic book fans.
Did Goyer have anything to do with Justice League? I don't think so.
No, but he had everything to do with Batman v Superman.
Not everything. He was originally writing the script, then they fired him and they brought in Chris Terrio.
But he still has the credit for it.
Right.
So you have him and you have Jesse Eisenberg. Even you probably also have another part of it that's, Zack Snyder's direction. Mm-hmm. So it's this sort of bad mishmash that delivered a performance that just comes across as weird and awkward, in my opinion. So unless they can twist it around so that he's a little bit more menacing and scary in the next half of Justice League, I'm still...
I think we'll get that. I think he can be scary in sort of a Riddler type of way. In fact, I think he would have been a better Riddler.
I'm sitting here thinking, the Riddler actually makes way more sense.
But, sort of like that persona, that type of scariness.
And I get it.
Where they're playing mind games with you as opposed to really just overpowering you.
Yeah.
So, and all well said, of course, we had Gene Hackman way back in the day.
Yeah.
It's a different take as well.
Still alive, by the way.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. So in the end scene, I haven't said spoiler alert yet, but spoiler alert if you haven't seen the movie. Well, now you're really,
you're
all
late.
the movie for it. But basically, we have the end scene where Luthor escapes his cell. Essentially, was the person that took his place someone significant that I should have known?
No, I think it was just a random guy.
Okay, because I'm sitting there like, is this?
Some people kind of looked at it like, oh, is that supposed to be the Joker or like a Joker minion? I think it was just some random
That would be throwing too many things in.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of villains that can also like alter their appearance. Maybe it's one of those kind of guys or something like that. But anyway, so we see him on on a yacht or something like that?
He's on a yacht.
We see Deathstroke check in. I'm a huge fan of the Deathstroke they have on Arrow.
Yeah, he's great.
For a time, they took away a lot of these heroes on the TV shows because these movies were coming out, which I think was stupid. They even ended up killing off a lot of these guys on the TV shows because of these movies, which I think was stupid. We can't have them exist. But luckily, they undid a lot of that, thank goodness. But basically, we see Deathstroke. He talks to Lex Luthor with the ultimate line being, well, why don't we start a league of our own? Which I thought the line was clever. I liked the line. Again, not a fan of Jesse Eisenberg. What did you guys think of that little... that was our last glimpse.
I texted Nick this. He hadn't seen the movie after I saw it. It was the first thing I texted as soon as I got out of the theater. I said, for the first time in my life, I audibly yelled, "Oh, blank," in a movie theater.
In a good way.
In a good way, yeah. Because I was so excited.
Yeah.
I think that just that 1.5, 2-minute scene has such wide-ranging repercussions for the entire DCEU.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited to see where they go with that because Deathstroke is a phenomenal villain.
I also feel like I should have not been so surprised that was going to
I was surprised that
movie.
That they did that because I wasn't expecting Deathstroke. I know we saw the test footage about a year back, but
I meant more the the idea of the post-credit scene being Lex Luthor here. How about we do one of our own? So I feel like I should have seen it coming. Yeah, I like the look of Deathstroke, and I think that the actor that they hired is going to do a phenomenal job with it. It leaves it, once again, I didn't hate the movie, so I want to see more. So, that sort of scene leaves me, I would say, anxious to see another installment.
Yep.
They made the movie fun. As it started, I was like, I don't know about this. And again, because they're trying to get all these quick little, origin stories for some of the guys we're less familiar with and trying to, do a lot of character development in under 2 hours. So that first half of the movie was just like, I don't know, it was fun. But then it got really fun when, towards the end, when they all teamed up and as you knew it would be. So it turned around for me. It got exciting. So I'm somewhat excited to see what comes out next. What's out next? Flash?
Aquaman. I think that's the only DC movie next year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, Aquaman. So we have nothing on him. So we really we'll see what happens. But what do you guys think about the future of the DC cinematic universe? Are we gonna I mean, we've had some missteps. We've had a lot of missteps. We've had some, good points here and there. Are they going to turn this thing around?
It's in an interesting place right now. There was a report that came out either yesterday or 2 days ago, actually, that said that Warner Brothers is planning major shakeups because Justice League didn't do as well as they were hoping.
But even have a new Batman, apparently, too.
Yeah. And, I don't really know what goes on in the front offices of Warner Brothers and DC Entertainment and whatnot. But first off, Jeff Johns, I love the guy. I think he's a genius. He's like the granddaddy of DC. He's kind of like our Stan Lee. He is spread out too thin. He's overseeing the TV shows. He's the head comic book guy. He's spread out too thin. He's working on the movies.
Wow.
They've got to get somebody else in there to sort of oversee everything. And there's one name that keeps popping up. I guess he's the head of Warner Brothers, or the head of Warner Brothers DC division. His name is, I think, Kevin Sujihara. From what I understand, the movie didn't have as much money put into it, or something along these lines, because he wanted his Christmas bonus. He wanted some sort of bonus check.
Wow.
And essentially, he took money from the movie.
Huh. That doesn't help anybody. Well,
yeah.
For him, but yeah. Wow.
But I think they do need some sort of major shakeup at the top. I think they do need a Kevin Feige. Just don't let it be Zack Snyder.
I
think their biggest, I don't want to say misstep, but they took way too much confidence and pride in someone who hadn't even been really given a full test run with the DC properties. I think what people are forgetting, and maybe it's because of the fact that before the Man of Steel, built the whole DCEU, we still had plenty of good DC movies. You had
the Dark Knight trilogy.
The Dark Knight trilogy. You had the Michael Keaton Batman films. Don't forget about those films just because their whole thing is trying to build it all to be connected now.
Yeah, and Green Lantern was actually supposed to be the first DCEU movie.
Sure.
That's why
it was.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's why you had the end credit scene with Mark Strong Sinestro turning into a Yellow Lantern. There was supposed to be another. It was supposed to be like its own little franchise, and the movie was received so poorly that they just said, screw it, and Man of Steel's going to be our first.
Yeah, and they started over. And Ryan Reynolds obviously moving on to Deadpool.
And now Detective Pikachu.
I saw that the other day, man. This guy's all
I'm mad it's not Danny DeVito, but hey, you know what?
I could see that. That's funny. All right, all good stuff, gentlemen. As always, you guys know your stuff. I see Hunter has a big smile on his face when he's talking about these superheroes.
Yeah, man.
So
I love it.
I can tell you appreciate it. Me too, man.
My parents get on me all the time. They're like, aren't you too old for superheroes and Dragon Ball and all that stuff? I'm like, no.
No, hey, dude, take a look at I got Thor's hammer right now.
Yeah, man, this place is awesome.
Still can't lift it. Oh,
you got all the Funkos over there?
Yeah, Oh, yeah, we got Justice League. Oh, dude, I'll give you the Grand Tour later. But anyway, I digress. Some scenes you guys liked in this movie, and some scenes you guys didn't like. I know I wanted to point out, I don't remember exactly. It's been a while since I've seen the movie, but I remember Ben Affleck, or Batfleck, had called out Wonder Woman on kind of, as I was saying, going into some sort of hibernation or taking a long sabbatical or something like that. Kind of
about 100 years.
Yeah, something like that. And he called her out on that, and she had some great retort. But I love that scene, just kind of that dysfunction.
Yeah.
And Hunter, we were talking earlier, you had mentioned that he took the jab at Chris Pine's character.
Steve Trevor,
that's who it is. So I thought that was kind of interesting, kind of seeing them with that banter. I thought that was... Yeah. I like, again, character development and some good dialogue.
It's like one of the few moments, I think, where the writing really works well, because they're all, not necessarily at each other's throats, but they're all picking apart the things that they're the most sensitive about, and so it'll cause them to fall apart.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. What were some scenes that you guys liked, or maybe some scenes you guys necessarily weren't huge fans of?
One of the scenes I love, and I think it was only lightly shown in the trailers, anytime Flash did his slow-mo running, and there was the blue electricity around him, I thought that was awesome. But I really love the scene when they're in, it's almost like a tower, and Wonder Woman is falling, and
the sword is out of reach.
Yes.
And Flash points his finger up to
it. And just lightly taps it. I just thought that was a cool little.
I thought they might go the Quicksilver route. I'm like,
which I really didn't want them to do.
That's what I was thinking.
They didn't.
I think music started playing for like a second. And I'm like, how long is this? Are they going to start doing the Quicksilver sequence, which was awesome in that X-Men movie?
Yeah,
but they did it right. They did it correctly.
They did.
And I did.
It gives it his own distinct style because him and Quicksilver kind of have they're very similar.
Yes, absolutely. How about you, Hunter?
Well, one scene that I didn't like was when Lois Lane and Clark Kent, they're standing in the field in Smallville, and Lois says something along the lines of, "You smell good," and Clark goes, "Haven't I always?" And I saw that scene, and I said to myself, that's Joss Whedon right there. That's Joss Whedon humor. He was one of the two directors on the film after Zack Snyder had to leave because of the unfortunate death of his daughter.
Yeah.
That was Joss Whedon's humor, and I thought a lot of the humor in Justice League worked, but that particular scene, no. Absolutely not. It just didn't fit.
That whole scene was odd. Like, I guess they needed a scene like that where you can kind of see, Lois have some screen time and, her man's back or whatever. But then Martha was there. There was some sort of weird interaction with Lois and Martha. There was a line, I forget what it was, something kind of odd.
That also makes me think, though, of a scene from Batman v Superman that my cousin pointed out when we saw it. So, if you remember in one of the in the nightmare sequence of Batman v Superman, when Bruce Wayne wakes up and the Flash is running backwards,
Lois is the key.
Yeah. So,
well, that's when Superman was revived and Batman pulled up Lois Lane in the car.
So that's the whole thing.
That was that.
So that was her whole. I don't know. I just felt like that was a little underwhelming. I know
Is that what the connection was?
That was the connection.
People were like, well, what about this scene in Batman or Superman? And I think. Yeah, it was so underwhelming that it was like, oh, is that it?
Yeah.
Unless there's plans for her to be a key another time. In which case, why did she get to be the key twice?
I think that was it. That was the direct connection between the two movies.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Again, the pacing and just trying to, they make these connections, but again, it's kind of rushed sometimes, or the payoff's not as good.
But you know what, though? We've been talking about some of its faults and stuff. I think one of the things that people need to really take into more consideration is just how hard it is to make a movie, period. All right? A movie takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of money, and it was, I wouldn't say on par to, everything was set for the course, but the unfortunate, death of Zack Snyder's daughter didn't, that slowed it all down because he had to remove himself from the project, and then they had to hire someone else out, to fill in his shoes. Mm-hmm. No one's going to do Zack Snyder like he is, so you're going to have a clash of tones, and you're going to have a clash of, script and stuff like that. The fact that this movie came out and was a coherent narrative is just a miracle.
Yeah, and again, I wish it wasn't directed by two people because once Joss Whedon came in, they got rid of Junkie XL and they brought back what's the composer's name from the original Batman movie?
Danny Elfman.
Danny Elfman.
Nice. Well done.
Yeah. And I thought the music was pretty underwhelming too. I wish they had kept Junkie or some sort of combination of Junkie and Hans Zimmer.
Yeah.
But again, I really liked the movie. I gave it a solid, I think, 7 out of 10. And, the thing that I think people need to go in and see it as is it is a live adaptation of the Justice League cartoon, of an episode of that. That's what it feels like. It's quick.
Yeah,
the
really
pace.
is.
The pacing is totally off. I agree with that. But it's fun.
It's just, what?
It's just a good time at the movies.
It's junk food for your mind.
Yeah.
And in a world where we're getting just this onslaught of superhero media thrown at us, where they're all trying to be groundbreaking in some way, shape, or form, it's nice and refreshing to get one that's just like, here you go, grab a bucket of popcorn and enjoy.
This movie would have done 10 times better if it came out in June as opposed to November.
That is true. It was a total misstep to try and do it, on the eve of Thanksgiving.
And I think it was originally supposed to come out in June, but then they had pushed it back along the way.
It feels like a summer movie.
Yeah.
That's just the problem.
Here's a real question, and I know in this day and age, like you see, I got my movie shelf over here.
Yeah.
Does I don't know. I mean, I guess everyone downloads everything nowadays. Wow,
I
sound old, man. Really.
No, I'm a collector. Hunter has not been to my
okay.
house yet, but he's seen my collection, and I have in my living room.
This guy doesn't sleep on a mattress. He sleeps on
Blu-rays.
DVDs.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I have a collection of probably over 2,000 DVDs.
No kidding, man. That's we'll have to talk about that.
So it's just...
When are you ever going to watch them all?
I have, though. That's the thing. There's very few I haven't.
Wow. But here's the real question, because I don't know if I have an answer yet. Is Just League going to make the DVD shelf?
Oh, yeah, for
Absolutely.
sure.
It's going to make it?
I buy all the DC movies.
Buy them all? I don't know if it's going to make it here in the Crowther house. I don't know if it's going to make it might make it. I don't know.
It's
just
gotta.
picked up Wonder Woman.
Well,
we
you
picked
know,
up Spider-Man.
my thing
Picked up
is,
Guardians of the Galaxy.
As a collector, too, I like watching like the behind-the-scenes features and the stuff like
True.
that. I'd like to see what features get put on that DVD, because maybe they're not going to say much about, the production nightmare, but it'd be interesting to see what they include. And also, I like seeing how they make things, like we're looking right here at the end scene of Wonder Woman, and she's fighting Ares. I'd love to see how they shot that, and how they, what sort of magic went into all the visual effects and stuff like that. That's something I do, so I would get it for that aspect alone.
Absolutely.
I just get it because I'm a fan.
Mm-hmm. Hey, that might be the best answer.
Yeah. And you know what this does bring into question, though? A lot of DC fans always would say, like, "Oh, we'll get our saving grace as a director's cut." I don't know that that's going to happen with this one.
I don't think a director's cut exists for this,
because this is kind of the best you're going to get, right? Because Joss Whedon was hired on to finish this movie, so this is his cut.
I think the movie was already finished when they had hired him, and then he went back and he reshot a lot of it. But the thing is, I don't know if Zack Snyder's work had been finished in post-production.
Yeah.
To where, it makes a coherent, good-looking movie.
Yeah.
So I don't know if a director's cut exists.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you probably will never see the Zack Snyder vision of the Justice League.
Yeah, it should have been one director or the other.
That's fair. Cool. Well, guys, thank you for a few minutes. I think you guys more than knocked it out of the park.
Thanks,
we got some behind-the-scenes stuff. We talked about the score. We talked about what's going on with the actors and actresses. What's going to happen in the future. I think you guys had some good ideas. So I appreciate your time. And everyone, be sure to like and share and follow Nick and Hunter on the Across My Mind network, all over social media. Guys, thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks
for having us.
Minutes. We'll do it again.
Cool.
Peace. We're out. Hey guys, thanks for listening to this episode of the Bob Culture Podcast. If you'd like to support the show on patreon.com for some great incentives, check out patreon.com/bobculturepodcast. I'd like to thank my newest patrons, Mike and Michelle Vermillion from Sledgepad LLC. Sledgepad is the revolutionary bass drum dampening system that make blankets in your bass drum a thing of the past. I love my Sledgepad and is currently being used by drummers from national acts such as Pink and Collective Soul. Use my code BOBMAN007 at checkout for a special discount. Check them out at sledgepad.com. Finally, don't forget to support the show by leaving a review on iTunes or give me a like on facebook.com/BobCulturePodcast.